In 2 Kings chapter 4, there's an interesting story of one of the prophets and the widow's oil. The widow is going to resign herself to, I just don't know what to do. I have no means. The prophet comes in and says, this is what you're going to have to do. The widow, who has been grieved over, lost her husband, the provider, has a young son, is they're going to die. They have no provision. She's tired of begging. Here's her dark situation. She needs to face it. What does the prophet say to her? He doesn't just give her a miracle of oil. He says, you need to knock on the door of every one of your neighbors and get containers from them. And don't just get, and he says this, don't just get a few. In other words, she had to resort to borrowing containers for neighbors. She had to risk this person who the community had already poured itself out to help her, but now the whole community is without, and they have nothing left to help her. She's going to have to go back again with empty hands and a needy heart and say, I need your help one more time. Can you give me some containers? How stupid is that going to sound? She's going to sound like a spiritual kook. I'm believing God for a miracle. Well, why do you want a container? The prophet told me to get you containers. Well, what does he want you to have a container for? Well, I'm not really sure, but he also said, don't just get a few. Can I have all your empty Tupperware? Honey, she's here again. She wants our Tupperware this time. Give the old woman what she wants. And they loaded her up with containers. And she gets to the house with all the containers. What did she have to do, though? Do you see the confrontation that's there? Why couldn't he just be kind? Why do you have to be so tough on her? That's the way it works. God wanted to confront her fears. God wanted to confront her humility. Because God's a rewarder of those who exercise humility. It's humility that brings grace and reward into our lives. And she needed more humility and more grace than she could measure. And so she was not exempt of the spiritual principles. And so the prophet came and didn't just provide a miracle, he came with a confrontation. And as she answered the confrontation with faith, she got her miracle. That's a sermon for a lot of us in this room today. God's not looking to just give us miracles. He never breaks his principle. Yeah, he wants to give us miracles. He wants to give us abundant provision. But more than that, he wants to rid us of the darkness that we face in our hearts. He wants us to face every place of pride that we have, even the places where we're proud and right. He doesn't care about us being right. He cares about us being humble. And we have to choose humility. We don't get it the way we want it. We get it the way he wants it for us. And no matter how I think where I'm going to live, what I'm going to do, and how much money I'm going to make, and how easy it should be, after all my faithfulness, it should be a lot easier than this. That is just arrogance speaking, even on a good day. That is the epitome of arrogance. And you and me, we just don't see it when it comes out of our own mouth. But God, as a loving Father, is looking to speak to that. That's the hinge pin. All the effect does not matter to him. The cause matters. And that's the condition of the heart. And so the prophet comes with a confrontation. Beg a bunch of empty containers off your neighbors. Don't ask them for finances. Don't ask them for oil. Don't ask them for food. Ask them for an empty container. And they're going to think you're a nut. So she got them. And the prophet went into her house, took the little cruse of oil, and filled every one of those containers. And then when it looked like he got to the last one, he asked her, do you have any more containers? She says, no, that's it. and the flow of the oil stopped. The miracle stopped. It stopped to the extent she had exercised faith to address the confrontation.